So my name is Lara, and I own Optimum Design and Consulting, which is a graphic design firm, not a marketing firm. And although this is Marketing Thursday, and this is a marketing topic, it's actually not something that is a product that we sell, per se. I'll explain why as we go through. But this is a topic that's interesting and passionate to me because graphic design is not done in a vacuum. You need to have some idea of marketing because almost all graphic design is for the purpose of communicating something to someone. And for that, you need to understand, who your target audience is, how it's reaching that person. So all graphic designers have some knowledge of marketing. And as we provide graphic design services for websites, among logos, brochures, and print material, we became aware of how people use their websites within marketing. And I realized that a lot of small business owners that I speak with aren't aware of some of the marketing tricks that some more sophisticated business owners are doing with their websites. As larger clients have asked us to help implement things, I thought that, what I can do in this time of COVID-19, where we're all trying to share our expertise and help each other, is help people figure out how to get more out of their websites, because now in this time where people are limited from in-person interaction and networking and not able to go to events, and everyone is turning more to digital. And that really means primarily your website. So I figured if I could talk a little bit about how to make your website work better for you, then that would be some way that I can contribute. So sidebar, I've been a long-time NAWBO member. I've been a member of NAWBO for about 28 years. Which is about as long as I've been a business owner, and not a coincidence. And I couldn't say enough wonderful things about the organization. I'm also a former president from back in 2004 and 5. So if you're not a member and you're new to NAWBO, I absolutely recommend you checking out the website, which is NAWBONYC.org. There's no better time to do that than now, based on the fact that you'll get a lot of information and resources, which we can all use right now, as well as connection, which we can all use right now. And this amazing series of daily webinars that Elizabeth has arranged for us is an example of one of the ways that NAWBO serves its community. So without further ado, I will share my screen and we'll get started. I'm going to ask that you please put your questions in the chat box. There will be 2 periods of time as we go where I'm going to ask for some input along the way. Since I'm sharing my screen, I'm trying to figure out how I can do this. Okay, at this point in time, I'll open the participant box, and I was going to have you say, type yes in the chat box. Elizabeth, do you think that would still work, that somebody can type yes and you can unmute them so that they could ask their question or make their comment, or should I just unmute all?
No, I can go ahead and do that whenever you need me to.
Okay, perfect. So this is making your website work for you, creating lead magnets and lead products to qualify prospects. So what is a lead magnet? Some of you probably have that term, or some of you probably know that term. Others have heard of it and aren't quite sure. And perhaps there are some on the phone who are not aware. A lead magnet is something you've all seen, even if you didn't know it was called a lead magnet. So it's something that's free and valuable, and you get it by signing up. So a very obvious one is email newsletter, right? Like you sign up for the email newsletter, you put your email address in, and then you get the newsletter. That's not really a typical lead magnet. That's just an example so you understand what I mean by signing up and putting your email address into a system and getting something in exchange. A typical lead magnet might be, sign up and get this download, sign up and get access to this webinar. A lead magnet is a way to collect contact information. So the prospect puts their email address in, and in exchange, they get something for free. This something is usually relatively short or small. You can consume it within an hour if it's as long as a webinar, usually less. But it provides obvious value right away. So you're not going to give a 300-page ebook as a lead magnet because that is not something that is quickly consumable, although it may be very valuable. It's something that's relevant to your target market. So if you are an architect, the lead magnet needs to be about architects, something about architecture. Like it could be like, you know, the 10 trends in architecture for 2020. It shows off your expertise in your field, and it's an attempt to move people through your sales funnel. Everybody has a sales funnel, even if they haven't officially set one up. So a sales funnel is just the steps people take along the way from meeting you at a networking event or getting introduced to you to signing on the dotted line for your product or service. So showing off some of what you do in a lead magnet is a way to move people through your sales funnel, because once they've consumed what you have in the lead magnet, read the content, watched the video, listened to the podcast, they are more aware of who you are and what you do, and hopefully more able to make a judgment on whether yours is a product or service that they're looking to buy. So why do you need a lead magnet? The most obvious reason is to build your mailing list. So everybody should be thinking about this, even if you don't have a newsletter. There are people who automatically start to do this because they either already have a newsletter or are thinking they will have one someday. But people who don't have newsletters think to themselves they don't need mailing lists. But a mailing list is nothing more than a list of prospects that you have to be able to reach out to. So say, for example, in the time of COVID-19, a lot of my clients wanted to reach out and say something. And I know all of you have been inundated by those messages. There have been too many, and they all start to sound the same after a while. But outside of that, you might send a holiday note around New Year's or Christmas or Thanksgiving to thank your clients, and you need a mailing list in order to do that. You might launch a new product or service and send an email. If you don't have a mailing list, you can't easily share that information. So a mailing list is more useful than just a newsletter. A lead product also helps you brand yourself and, more importantly, crystallize your value proposition. So yeah, maybe you're a coach and people know you as a coach, but what makes you different than all the other coaches? If your lead product talks about specifically why you're different and better than all the other coaches, then it's making it really clear to people why they should hire you. It gives you the opportunity to establish expertise and credibility. I mean, anybody that is offering advice for free or information for free is assumed to know what they're talking about. And although that's not always true, it's usually true. It should be true. And so if you are sharing your information on the internet, people are assuming right away that you're an expert in your field. Maybe you're building some thought leadership by having these, you can have more than one lead magnet that showcase your expertise in different arenas within your field. Gives you a chance to enhance your reputation. Maybe it's something downloadable that someone feels is interesting enough to share. So maybe your content is getting shared among more than just the person downloading it. It allows you to begin a dialogue with your prospect. So you're starting some kind of one-on-one with them. You know, a lot of people visit your website, but you don't necessarily know who they are or why they came or whether they found what they were looking for. But by downloading and giving you their email address, you can follow up. You can follow up with them in a group email that you send to everyone, like I listed before, or you could follow up with them directly. Oh, hey, I noticed you came to the website and downloaded this thing that I have. Can I help you? Are you interested in learning more? Can you tell me what you thought of it? So it starts to allow for a little bit of a building of a relationship. It helps you qualify your prospects, because only the people who are interested enough to give you their email address are the ones that are interested enough to start to talk to in more of a sales way. And I'm not talking about hard sales. I'm talking about being aware that they're at least interested in the information that you're sharing, which is related to the service you provide. And so you can send them a certain type of email that you might not send to everyone. You might send everyone you know a holiday email, but only people who downloaded something an email that specifically talks about your service. It also, according to online research, lets you double your website conversion rate. Many people just have what I call brochureware, which is like a website that just says who you are, what you do. You've got your standard about page and your services page, and you sometimes a resources or testimonials page, and that's it. It's like a brochure about who you are. But if you give people a way to engage with you and do something and take an action, then you're starting to get them more interested in who you are, and you're starting to convert them into somebody who could be a sales product. That's what a conversion rate refers to. So what do you say in the lead product? Well, I recommend that you take whatever you've already got and try to reuse it, because nobody has time to build lots of new content from scratch. But what you can do is take a look at what you've already written, whether it's in a blog or a newsletter or social media post or a presentation you've made, and try to put together a lead product from that. And this is where I would advise you to go ahead and take a screenshot of this if you're looking for this list. You can also Google it, and you will find many, many articles on lead magnets. Some very common ones are listed here. The first group is informational, a case study on how someone used your product or service and what they got out of it. A white paper, which could go into in-depth information, sometimes technical information regarding the service you provide. Some kind of report that might, have survey information about your industry, or a guide, like a how-to. It could be a little more interactive, like a tutorial or a workbook, a spreadsheet where you might have filled out, the columns and instructed people on how to put their information in, and it automatically tallies for them. Some kind of toolkit with several aspects of what they need in order to get something done. An ebook, if it's short. It could be very short. It could be a list. People love top 10 lists or resource lists, things that they feel they can consume quickly because nobody has a lot of energy or time, or that's what I'm looking for. Nobody has a attention span to get through something long. But everybody who sees top 10 or top 3 or top 5, they know it's a quick read. And if the information is important to them, the topic is interesting to them, they'll take the time. It could be a checklist, which is about a process. Like if you're looking to do such and such on your own, these are the steps you need to take, or a cheat sheet for how to do something better. It could be visual, like an infographic, and you may need to hire a design firm like ours, but it would be your information, like some statistics about your industry that people really want to know. But let's put it together in a graphical format so that it's absorbable and interesting visually, and something somebody might want to keep. Secrets. People love secrets. So here's the insider secrets to such and such. It could be a webinar or podcast you already have recorded for somebody else that you have the link to. And so that's the easiest thing of all, because you don't need to create anything new. You just take something you already have and you allow people to get access to it in exchange for their email address. It could be a video or a transcript. You may have a video on your site. Maybe it's like a 4-minute video. And if you want the transcript, which is basically the written version of what was said, then you put your email address in. So people know exactly what they're getting. It could be a calendar or planner, something that lets people map something out. It could be a survey or quiz result. I have something like that on my site. It's like a branding quiz. And so I've asked people 5 different questions to see how well they think they know their branding. And at the end, it returns a result to give them some idea about how savvy they are about branding. Or it could be as simple as a handout, just an 8.5 by 11 PDF with some information that might be valuable. So how do you promote a lead magnet? Definitely you put it on your website and you link to it from appropriate places throughout your site. People aren't going to go find it, especially if you have a website with many pages. People just don't look at all the pages. So find all the places where you want to put a button that directs people to your lead magnet. Definitely your home page. It might be in the footer of every page. It might be in certain places where the content you're talking about is relevant and refers to your lead magnet. So make sure to link to it internally from as many places as possible. Send an email blast to your mailing list. Ask your partners, colleagues, and friends to do the same. Post it on social media, not the lead product, not the lead magnet itself, but a little teaser with a link that goes to the page that it lives on, which is called the landing page. Mention it every time you're speaking, whether you're giving a webinar or having a speaking event, or even in your networking group when you go around and you do your elevator pitch. Anytime that you're speaking, you can mention you have this free thing. Put it in your email signature, right underneath your contact info, free such and such, with a link that goes to your landing page. Provide it in follow-up emails to people you meet networking. Everybody comes home with all those business cards. What do you do with them? a lot of us just get overwhelmed and kind of deer in headlights and put them in a stack on the table. But if you actually take the time to email people, it gives you sort of a reason to do it. You know, you obviously want to say nice to meet you, but what you really want to know is if any of those people want to have a conversation with you because they might be interested in learning more, which really means, are you a potential client of mine? Or do you happen to know the people I'm looking to meet? So like, although that's the reason people follow up from networking, you don't want to follow up and say, great to meet you last night. Do you want my stuff? Do you know anyone who wants my stuff? So here's a nice reason to say, great to meet you last night. It was great talking to you. You put your polite, you know, information in there, like little chit chat, make it personal if you can. And then, hey, in case you're interested, here's a free such and such. So it gives you something you can offer that makes it seem like you're doing them a favor. So how is it working? And here is where I would like anybody who is already using a lead magnet to just type me in the chat box. And then I'm going to have Elizabeth unmute that person. And I would just love to know what it is that you have on your site as a lead magnet and how's it working for you. Anyone?
Not at this moment in time. Oh, here we go. Yes, we have Yannick. Bear with me, Yannick. And I can put you... Actually, I think you can unmute yourself, Yannick.
I can unmute myself. Hello.
There you go. Perfect.
So, my
Hi,
name is
Yannick.
I'm over here in Atlanta, Georgia. One of the things that I do is I'm a fine artist and I own an art studio here. So one of the lead capture things I offer is a YouTube video to a virtual do-it-yourself paint-at-home class. So like a paint and sip kind of thing. So people normally come to my studio to do a paint and sip, but that's kind of like my way of like letting them know it's like really easy to do and it's really easy to follow, but people get intimidated before coming to the class. But I found that most people who actually download that video, and even if they don't watch it, they do end up actually coming to the class because I enter them into my sales funnel and they really convert well.
So it's working the way you intend?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And I'll explain for the people on the phone who are not of the art world that a paint and sip is probably the kind of thing where you paint while you're drinking wine. Is that it?
Yes, it is. It is. So they essentially they follow along while I give them very specific instructions on how to create a painting. But instead of them having to come to my studio and pay for the class and all these things, I send them the video, and then along with that video, there's a link of where they can buy those the supplies themselves to do it at home with their friends or with their family or whatever. Ironically enough, that's also a really good thing for them to have right now, but you know.
Great. So anybody else type that into the chat box?
No, but we did have one other question about, is there a possibility of putting a lead magnet onto an email signature seamlessly?
Anything on an email signature can be a link. I can't tell you exactly how to do that because it depends on what your email client is. You could be using Outlook or Mac Mail. You could be using web-based mail, but anything in an email signature could be a link to something else. So when you're building a lead magnet, it lives on your website, but then you link to it from other places, including your email signature. Okay, we'll proceed. I guess I've got a bunch of lead magnet newbies, which is awesome because that means I can share more information with you. So what's a lead product compared to a lead magnet? And I really hope that I'm not confusing the terms when I speak. I sometimes say the wrong thing because they're so similar. So hopefully that doesn't happen today. A lead product is very, very similar to a lead magnet, except it's not free. So it's something people pay for. It's a way that they can sample what it is that you do for a low price point that is automatically accessible on your website, meaning there is some e-commerce there. It's not something that they need to call you to purchase and give you the credit card number over the phone or mail you a check. It's something that they can just pay for right on your website. And e-commerce can seem daunting to people who don't have e-commerce on their websites, but most websites today that are built on a content management platform like Squarespace or Wix or WordPress, it's fairly easy to add e-commerce. It's something that a developer can do fairly quickly, or in some cases, it may be something you can add. It doesn't need to feel daunting, like, oh my God, it's a big step. But when you have e-commerce enabled, people can go browse around at 2 a.m. and find something on your website and purchase it right then and there. And that's what you want to do. You want to make it easy instead of put up obstacles like, oh, you have to call me first. So a lead product is something that is small, and it's a small price point. For example, if you sell things that are, for example, $5,000 is your entry point and $10,000 is your mid-range product, and $15,000 is your high-end product, your lead product might be $750 or $1,000 tops. It's a lot easier for someone to spend $1,000 with you than to spend $20,000 with you, especially if they've just met you and they're not entirely sure that what you offer is what they need or whether they're going to get what they think out of it. So this is a way for customers to sample what it is that you're selling and confirm that, yep, this is really worth spending $20,000 on before they put their money down for a bigger item. And it doesn't need to be as big as $20,000. Say your products are $1,000, $3,000, and $5,000, and obviously not everyone has 3. I'm just sort of giving you a range. Your lead product could be, $150 or $97. It's just a small amount compared to what your typical pricing is. But you're not trying to undersell it. You're not trying to come up with something that is really worth $500, but priced at $97. It has to be priced what it's worth, because you're giving someone an opportunity to say, this is what you get for the value. If you give them $500 worth of value for $97, they may think that they're going to get $20,000 worth of value for $5,000. So it's got to be priced appropriately. And it's something that should be valuable enough that people will pay for. You may need to have a conversation with them to make sure it's the right thing for them. You may need to just have a lot of information on your website so that they can make sure. It depends on what your price point is, whether people will sign up for it right away or not. But it is a way that they can sort of try before they buy, meaning try a small price product before they buy a larger price product. And why do you need one? It definitely builds confidence in what you have to offer. If somebody purchases something for $500 and has a fantastic experience and knows they need a lot more of you, they're far more willing to purchase your $3,000 version. You can try to test your price points a bit, not necessarily of your larger item, but you can test the price point of your lead products. You can have several lead products and keep changing the price points and see which are the ones that are where you start to get a pickup and you get more people purchasing. And then you have an idea of what the value or worth of that product is. That may help you price your higher priced offering if you have some idea of what people are paying for the lower priced offering, or more willing to pay for the lower priced offering. Definitely needs to build trust before someone spends $20,000 with you. So this is a really good way to help people build the trust that's necessary for that. It helps you qualify your prospects before you get in bed with them. So, we've all had clients from hell. The worst ones are the ones that are really large clients from hell or really long-term clients from hell. And we've all had this situation of like, oh my God, this client is so not worth my time. This client is driving me crazy. I wish I had never started this project. So this allows you to see what they're like in a smaller setting before you agree to work with them for 6 months. I know somebody who has all of her clients go through the lead product first. You cannot work with her until you do the lead product. And that allows her to make sure it's a good fit before they engage on a deeper scope of work. And lastly, it does allow you to establish a new revenue stream. And in some cases where you don't need to be personally involved with each lead product, it could be passive revenue, which is what we are all looking for. Say you do have that 300-page ebook, that's a lead product. And you could collect, $25, $100, whatever you think it's worth, from people who download it without having to lift a finger once you've published it and put it on your website. So what do you provide in a lead product? You've got to figure out how people can sample your services. What is it that they can try that's a subset of the whole thing? And then figure out what kind of a flat fee you can attach to it. It does need to be a fixed price, and it does need to be significantly lower in price. It could be a consultation. You could have, you know, a 2-hour phone session with somebody, but make it worthwhile, worth paying for. Give them a written deliverable. People feel like they got their money's worth when they have something in writing. So type up a summary of it and send it afterwards. It could be an audit or evaluation. We do this. We have we call it a blueprint rather than audit, but it's really an audit. We do a brand blueprint and a website blueprint. So for $450, people can have us evaluate their website for the areas of design, technology, content, and automation functionality, or they can have us evaluate their brand, their existing logo, website, brochure, business card, PowerPoint presentation. And we'll give them like a 3-page written piece that talks about what works and what doesn't work and what our suggestions are for improving it. That is a valuable thing. They could then use that information to go and improve it or not, or save it for when they have more budget. But it's something that a lead product needs to be worth paying the money for. It could be any kind of tangible delivery that's more valuable than a lead magnet. Like an ebook is more likely to be in this category, for example. Ideally, what you want to do is schedule a meeting to review what happened and use that opportunity to close your larger sale. So when we do the blueprints, we type them all up and have them ready to go, but I don't send them to the client ahead of time. I schedule a Zoom call where we review it together and I elaborate and go through more detail and answer questions. And since it's set up to show what are the problems with something, what's not working as well as it could, then it's sort of an obvious next step for me to say, so if you'd like to address those problems, if you'd like to have some solutions, this is what we could do for you. And this is what it would cost. So it's a lead in to a larger sale. So that's the ideal thing with a lead product, is if it can lead into your larger sale. And if you're really bold, you can even tell them that if they purchase it right then and there on the phone with you, they'll get a discount. How do you promote it? All the same ways that you promote your lead magnet, but as Unique mentioned, look at the sales funnel aspect of it. So build a funnel so that if somebody downloads your lead magnet, they are directed to your lead product. It could be because they're automatically being taken to a page that advertises the lead product after they download it, or they're given an option to learn more about the lead product after they download it, or they're getting a follow-up email that you send a week after they downloaded the lead magnet that says, hey, if you want, more of what you got, here's a way to get it. So I don't know if anybody has a lead product, since very few had a lead magnet. But if you are using a lead product on your site, something somebody can download and pay for, who may or may not continue, the relationship with you from there, please type me into the chat box. And we are almost done. So please also type any questions that you have into the chat box, and we'll get to those shortly. Elizabeth, anybody's raising their hand?
So Yannick, why don't you unmute yourself, and then you can ask the previous question and talk to Lara about this.
So ironically enough, the art studio started as a lead product that kind of morphed into a studio itself. So I started doing, okay, so initially I only did like large original pieces of art and then art commissions, but the price range is like, we're going from like 3,000 to 10,000, and that's difficult for people to buy in. So I tried to figure out how to get people in at a lower price point. So I started making merchandising. So like t-shirts and like folders and those kind of things from the original artwork.
Great.
Oh, my question.
And how?
Oh, sorry, yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
My question was, will these slides be available after this presentation? I think these are like really, really valuable. I'd really love to be able to have them.
I'm happy to, absolutely. If Elizabeth gives me the email addresses of the attendees, I will gladly send it out and would be happy to answer any questions individually as well.
And then my other question you had already addressed, but it was, do you recommend multiple lead products simultaneously?
So it kind of depends on your approach. I have seen some people that, say, for example, you offer 3 main services, you could have a lead product in each of those main services. You could have one main lead product and then others that make more sense to offer to people who've already gone through your first one, sort of like building a funnel of multiple lead products, but like leading with one. You don't want to have so many that it confuses people because they're not sure what to do. You always want to make it easy for someone to take the next step on your website, and you need to be clear in your mind about the best way to move them through the sales funnel. So either people, when they're first approaching your website, sort of self-select into different categories, like maybe it's very clear, like, you know, I'm a literary agent, and, you know, click here if you're interested in books for kids, and click here if you're interested in books for adults. And once you're in that section, you're kind of in that section. So it's very obvious that each of those could have a lead product, and they're not really competing with each other because people are self-selecting into those different buckets before they're even seeing the content that talks about your lead product for that bucket. But if you have just one thing you're selling, you do need to make sure that you're not being confusing by offering too many. As long as you're saying you have one per type of service, I think you're okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So here's some additional terminology that you may need to be familiar with if you're going to start down this road of creating lead magnets and lead products. Call to action is often abbreviated as CTA. And in the larger context, it just means something you want somebody to do. So on every email that goes out, you want somebody to do something. You want them to click through to your website. You want them to pick up the phone and call you. You want them to fill out a survey. Whatever that is the CTA. So in the parlance of a lead magnet, the CTA is the button someone clicks on because they want your free item. And then when they click on that button, they land on a landing page. So the landing page is a page on your website where the lead magnet lives. And that's where somebody can type their information in and hit submit and get whatever it is that they came to get, whatever your lead magnet is. And they end up on a thank you page that thanks them for downloading the lead magnet. And then an email that you'll send to them, which could be automatically generated, or it could be something sent a specific number of days afterwards, would be a follow-up to acknowledge they downloaded it and ... You know, so lead them down your sales funnel. Maybe offer a lead product, maybe offer a different lead magnet, maybe offer an initial consultation, whatever it is that you've decided is the next step. So I'm hoping that all of this gets you thinking about the idea of a sales funnel, or what's sometimes called a customer journey. Like, what do you want people to do when they land on your homepage? How do you want to take them through your site? And after they've looked at your site, what are the steps you want them to take in order to get more comfortable and familiar with you? I mean, obviously everybody just wants you to like right away pick up the phone and say, I want to buy, but that's not typical unless you met someone with an urgent need right then and there. Typically, you have people do business with people they know and people they like and people they trust. So you have to do some things to build the ability for them to know you, like you, and trust you. So they can get to know you through the lead magnet and like you through a phone call or the interaction that you have. You can have a clever tone and stay away from being pushy and salesy in your communications. They'll like you more. And they can trust you by purchasing the lead product. Okay, that was totally worth $200. I think I am going to buy this thing for $2,000. So that's really the end. I just want to emphasize again that we do not create the strategies for lead products and lead magnets. A marketing salesperson would be ideal for that. A marketing consultant can help you think through how to build sales funnels in your website and what you might offer and how you might offer it. But what we can do is design the visual aspects of it. So if you're having a PDF download, we can design a PDF that is beautiful and branded to your website. Or if you need an email that goes out automatically and it should match your website, we can design that. Or if you have any aspect of any of those different lead magnets that needs designing, that's what we would do. We would also, of course, implement that in your website, build the landing page and, set up the functionality of the form and the download and the quiz and whatever you wanted. That said, we've seen a lot of good success with this from the clients that we've implemented this with. And so that's how I feel qualified enough to talk to you about what I'm seeing other people doing and what I'm hoping that you might take some ideas from and do yourself. So Elizabeth, I think at this point it would be great to unmute everybody, and I'm happy to take additional questions.